The consequences of uncontrolled emotions and the path to wisdom. Question. I struggle with blaming others, boasting, emotional outbursts, impatience, and excitement. Even though I have been listening to Dharma teachings, I still don't fully understand this aspect. Could you please teach me again? Answer. It is very difficult to control our emotions. However, once we understand this, we can start working on improving ourselves. The inability to control emotions means that our abilities are still weak. This is the answer. When our abilities are weak, but we still want to assert ourselves and our assertions are not accepted, that is when we lose control. Anger arises from desire. But when we talk about desire, it is not just about wanting a lot of money or accumulating wealth. It is not about material greed. Those things are fine. The real desire is wanting others to understand us without making the effort to properly convey our point. Getting angry when they don't understand, that is desire. If I act without enough capacity and then people do not believe me, things do not go my way, or others do not acknowledge me, and I get angry about it, that anger stems from desire. What happens then? The answer is that my credibility in front of others declines. If my credibility falls, I cannot accomplish great things. This is how it works. When we demand more than what our capacity allows, and things do not work out, getting angry about it is our mistake. If I have done my best but others do not accept it, then who is frustrated? I am the one who is frustrated. And this happens because I made a mistake. If this pattern continues once, twice, 3 times, eventually, I will suffer consequences. Expressing anger, go ahead and do it. It's okay. But if you keep doing it, it accumulates, and when it reaches a critical mass, it will come back to strike you. This can manifest as car accidents, tumors, strokes, or other unexpected misfortunes. It may also lead to physical fights, humiliation, or public disgrace. These are all consequences of accumulated negative energy. Initially, when negative energy is not yet accumulated, it may not immediately result in misfortune. But if we continue on this path without realizing it, the accumulated energy will eventually manifest as disaster. And when this happens, it can take countless forms. Destruction comes when we lack the necessary capacity but still desire more, and then react with anger when things do not go our way. Wanting more than our capability is fine. But getting angry at others when it does not happen, this is unacceptable. Making mistakes is one thing, but being unreasonable on top of that makes us unforgivable. When this behavior accumulates, it ruins our lives, preventing us from achieving what we want. No matter how much we pray to God, this law cannot be avoided. Even if one were a direct relative of the Buddha, they would not be exempt. This is an immutable law of nature. Understanding this principle correctly allows us to self-regulate and find contentment. If we do not understand it, we keep getting angry at others. Getting angry at someone else ultimately makes us look bad, not them. The moment I get angry, I am the one who suffers, not the other person. I am the one at fault but blame others in anger. Even if immediate punishment does not follow our mistakes, if we do not reflect and correct ourselves, misfortune will eventually come. Nature does not impose punishment right away. We are given opportunities to recognize and correct our mistakes. If we reflect and make efforts, nature takes note of this. But if we continue to blame others and vent our anger, we will inevitably face consequences. Now, we are knowledgeable people. We must awaken to a new paradigm. We must not lose our temper recklessly. Even if we do, we must bear the consequences ourselves. No one, not even Buddha, will take our punishment for us. Some say that Jesus took on the sins of humanity, but that is nonsense. He demonstrated that if you make mistakes, you will suffer the consequences. He showed this to teach humanity an important lesson. Therefore, we must now navigate life wisely. We must not rely on force, boast about our knowledge, or be arrogant about our skills. Instead, we must live with wisdom. The future is an era of wisdom, where everything must be managed with insight. Simplified version question. I tend to blame others, boast, have emotional outbursts, act impatiently, and get overly excited. Even after listening to Dharma teachings, I still don't fully understand this part. What should I do? Answer. Controlling emotions is not easy, but once we understand the principle, we can start making changes. Why do we lose control of our emotions? When our abilities are lacking, but we still want to assert our opinions strongly, our emotions explode. We get angry when others don't understand us, but in reality, this comes from desire. Desire is not just about wanting more money, it is about forcing others to accept our views. The consequences of anger. If I lack ability but still get angry when others don't listen, my credibility decreases. Without credibility, I cannot accomplish greater things. If I keep getting angry, negative energy builds up and eventually causes problems in my life. These problems can appear as accidents, illness, conflicts, or misfortune. Anger doesn't bring instant punishment, but nature does not punish us immediately. However, if we don't reflect and continue blaming others, misfortune will eventually come back to us. What should we do? We must learn to control our emotions and try to understand others. Instead of forcing our opinions, we should improve our own abilities first. Remember, getting angry only damages our credibility and life. Wisdom is the key to life. The world is no longer about power, knowledge, or talent alone. The most important thing is solving problems wisely. Conclusion. It's okay to get angry, but we must bear the consequences ourselves. Before reacting with anger, pause and think. Acting wisely will always be the better choice. Wisdom and anger. The weight of anger. The village of CHEON lay nestled between emerald green mountains, its people living in harmony with nature. Among them was a man named Jisoo, a skilled potter known for his fiery temper. His hands shaped clay with unmatched precision, but his heart was often ruled by frustration. When things didn't go his way, his voice would rise, his hands would tremble, and his pottery, meticulously crafted, would sometimes be shattered in an instant of rage. One day, Jisoo received an invitation from the royal palace. The king, having heard of his exceptional talent, wished to commission a set of ceremonial vases. It was the opportunity of a lifetime. Yet as Jisoo prepared for the task, he felt an unease bubbling within him. What if the king's men do not appreciate my work? What if they misunderstand my vision? He muttered under his breath. His apprentice, a quiet young boy named Hanyul, watched him with curious eyes. Master, should we not focus on making the best pottery instead of worrying about their reaction? Jisoo scowled. You do not understand. A true artist demands recognition. If they fail to see my skill, it is their blindness, not my failure. Hanyul said no more, but he had seen what anger did to his master. He had seen beautiful vases destroyed in fits of rage, and he feared that one day, the weight of his master's anger would shatter more than just pottery. A test of patience. The palace was grand beyond anything Jisoo had ever seen. He was led to the king's chamber, where a group of noblemen awaited. Among them was the chief artisan, Master Beck, an old potter with silver-streaked hair and eyes full of quiet wisdom. Jisoo bowed before the king and unveiled his first masterpiece, a towering vase adorned with intricate carvings of swirling dragons. The room fell silent. Then, Master Beck stepped forward and ran his fingers over the surface. The craftsmanship is excellent, but the design feels too aggressive for a ceremonial piece. The dragons look as though they are fighting rather than blessing the kingdom. Jisoo felt his face burn. You call this aggressive? This is a masterpiece. Master Beck shook his head. A potter must not only showcase skill but also wisdom. Art is not merely about making something grand. It is about understanding the needs of those who will receive it. Jisoo's hands curled into fists. You do not appreciate true artistry. The king raised a hand, and the room stilled. Jisoo, you are a gifted potter, but if you cannot control your temper, how can you control the fire of the kiln? Return in 3 days with a vase that speaks of harmony, not just strength. Jisoo stormed out of the palace, his heart pounding. How dare they question his art? How dare they ask him to change? The breaking point that night, Jisoo worked furiously, his mind clouded with resentment. He shaped another vase, its patterns more intricate than before, its structure taller, its presence commanding. Let them doubt my skill, he muttered. They will see. But as he placed it in the kiln, the flames roared higher than expected. In his frustration, he had overworked the clay, and under the intense heat, a loud crack split the air. The vase, his defiance, collapsed into a heap of broken shards. Jisoo stared in horror. His anger had not only ruined the vase but had wasted precious time. In the quiet that followed, he heard Hanyul's voice. Master, the fire follows its own laws. If we do not respect them, no matter how skilled we are, the clay will break. Jisoo sank to the ground. He had spent his life trying to prove himself, yet in his pride, he had forgotten the essence of his craft. Pottery was not just about strength, it was about patience, understanding, and balance. The vase of harmony with only one day left, Jisoo started again. This time, he did not think of impressing the king. He did not think of proving Master Beck wrong. He thought of the village, of the rivers that flowed gently through it, of the trees that bent in the wind but never broke. He shaped a vase that told a story, not of dragons battling for dominance, but of a phoenix rising, wings open in graceful acceptance. When he placed it in the kiln, he did not rush the fire. He let it breathe, let it do its work. And when he finally pulled the vase out, it gleamed with a quiet beauty. At the palace, the nobleman studied his creation. This time, Master Beck smiled. You have found the heart of your craft. This vase speaks not of pride, but of wisdom. The king nodded. It shall stand in the temple as a symbol of balance. Jisoo bowed deeply. For the first time, he did not feel the need to argue or defend himself. He simply felt at peace. As he left the palace, Hanyul looked up at him. Master, are you not angry that they changed your vision? Jisoo chuckled. No, Hanyul, I changed myself. The lesson from that day on, Jisoo's temper cooled, his hands steadier than ever. He taught his apprentice not just how to shape clay but how to shape one's heart. For he had learned that true mastery was not in controlling others, but in controlling oneself.